The moment my parents stopped me at the front entrance on Thanksgiving, with the cold wind biting at my face and the warmth of the house just a few steps away, I felt something shift inside me, like the ground beneath my feet cracked open. My mom wouldn't even look me in the eye. My dad stood there with this stiff, uncomfortable posture, like he was bracing himself for a storm he created. And then he said the words that still echo in my head even now, "You're not invited, go home." I froze. My hands were literally shaking because all I kept thinking was why. What did I do that was so unforgivable, so monstrous, that my own parents couldn't let me inside my childhood home on Thanksgiving? Tell me honestly, was I wrong for what I did next? Because the way I see it, I was pushed into a corner I never should have been in. I guess to explain how everything exploded like this, I need to start from the beginning, long before Thanksgiving ever came around. I grew up as the middle child, older brother, younger sister, me stuck somewhere in the middle, always trying to prove myself, always trying to keep the peace. If you're a middle child, you know the drill. You're the one who blends in, the one who shouldn't need much, the one who's expected to understand everyone else's needs even when nobody bothers to understand yours. My brother, Daniel, was the golden child. Everything he touched was applauded mediocre grades. He's doing his best. Lazy. He's just tired. Bad decisions, he'll figure it out. And then there was my younger sister, Emily, the princess of the family. She cried once, and the entire house revolved around her needs for a week. Meanwhile, if I so much as mentioned I was struggling, my mom would pat my shoulder and say, "You're strong. You can handle it. But strong doesn't mean invincible. And handling something doesn't mean you're not hurting inside." Fast forward to adulthood. My brother never really got his life together. Job to job, one failed relationship after another, and somehow my parents kept covering for him financially. And I don't mean helping him pay rent once or twice. I mean thousands of dollars. Meanwhile, I was working 2 jobs in college, literally eating ramen every day, and yet my parents never offered to help. They'd say, "You're responsible, you'll figure it out." I did figure it out, but not because they helped. I had to claw my way through everything, and even then, when I graduated, they didn't show up to my ceremony because Emily had a school recital the same day. She sang one song. I walked the stage for a degree I nearly destroyed myself to get. Guess which one they chose? Still, I kept trying. I went home for holidays, I called them regularly, I bought thoughtful gifts, I checked on them, I showed up. For everything. I guess some part of me was always hoping that one day they'd see me, really see me, the way they saw my siblings. But nothing prepared me for what happened this year. 2 months before Thanksgiving, something happened that lit the match. My brother lost his job again, and my parents wanted me to loan him $8,000 to cover his bills, not help him find a job, not hold him accountable, not even ask him why he always ended up in crises, just dump the responsibility on me. I told them no, not because I didn't care about him, but because I worked hard for my money and I was tired of feeling like an ATM. My mom got quiet, dangerously quiet, and said, "Families help each other." I replied, "Then maybe you should teach him to help himself instead of expecting me to clean up his messes." They didn't speak to me for nearly 2 weeks after that, but I had no idea they were planning something vindictive. Thanksgiving was important to me, not because of the food or tradition, but because it was the one day a year where I still felt like part of the family, even if only for a few hours. So when I texted the family group chat asking what time to come over, my mom replied, "Dinner is at 5, come at 4:30, nothing strange, nothing suspicious. I bought a pie, I dressed nicely. I drove an hour to get there, and then everything fell apart. I walked up the front steps, knocked on the door with this stupid smile on my face, thinking maybe this year would be different. My dad opened the door but didn't step aside. My mom stood behind him with her arms crossed. I immediately felt the tension. My dad cleared his throat and said, "Listen, we think it's better if you don't come in today." I blinked. What? Why? My mom finally looked me dead in the eyes and said, "You've made it very clear you don't want to be part of this family anymore." I swear my stomach dropped. What are you talking about? She lifted her chin and said, "If you can't support your brother in his time of need, then we don't want your negativity here. Thanksgiving is for family, and you made your choice." My choice. My choice. I stood there speechless, while I could literally hear laughter and clinking dishes from inside. My siblings, already enjoying dinner like nothing was wrong. I said, "Are you seriously kicking me out because I wouldn't give Daniel money?" My dad refused to make eye contact. "You're not invited. Go home." The worst part, my brother came to the door behind them, holding a plate of food, smirking. "Sorry, man. Maybe next year don't be so selfish." I felt the heat hit my cheeks, that burning mix of humiliation and rage and heartbreak. And I left. I got in my car, put my pie on the passenger seat, and drove away shaking so hard I almost pulled over. I cried the whole drive home. Not because I wanted their approval, but because for the first time, I realized they never loved me the way I loved them. And here's where the story really begins, because everything that happened after that was the result of one moment, one deeply painful realization, and one decision I made while sitting alone in my apartment eating a store-bought pie with tears dripping onto the plate. I decided I was done being the forgotten child. I was done being used, and I was done pretending we were a family. But before I tell you what I did next, I want you to pause for a second and really think about this. Imagine your own parents shutting the door in your face on Thanksgiving because you refused to financially enable your grown sibling. Imagine them choosing the child who constantly fails over the one who worked their entire life to be responsible. So tell me honestly, if you were in my shoes, what would you have done? Would you have just walked away quietly? Or would you have stood up for yourself the way I finally did? All right, here's what happened. 3 days after Thanksgiving, my mom sent me a long text acting like nothing happened. "Hope you're feeling better. We can talk when you're ready to apologize to your brother." Apologize. To my brother for not giving him money. I stared at that message for a solid minute before I laughed. Like actually laughed, the unhinged kind of laugh that comes from pure emotional exhaustion. I texted back, "I'm not apologizing, and I'm not coming over again until you take responsibility for what you did." She left me on read. A week passed, then 2, no contact. During that time, I learned something, that my parents weren't just expecting me to give my brother $8,000. They had actually told him he was getting it. They promised him my money without even asking me, and that wasn't all. I found out from a cousin that my parents had been telling the family that I distanced myself and didn't want to join Thanksgiving. They made me the villain in a story I never asked to be part of. That was the breaking point. I decided to take my life back piece by piece. The first thing I did was something small but symbolic. I removed myself from the family group chat. My sister immediately messaged me privately, calling me dramatic. I told her, "If you think being disinvited from Thanksgiving is normal, then I don't think you understand what family is." She replied with a thumbs up, a literal thumbs up. Then I made a bigger decision, one that had real consequences. Every year, I was the one who did my parents' taxes. I handled all their paperwork. I fixed things around their house. I drove them to appointments. I did everything without complaint. So I sent them a calm but firm message saying, going forward, I won't be available for administrative or financial help. Please make other arrangements. My dad replied with, "We really don't need your attitude." I didn't respond. Then the real fallout started. Tax season arrived. They panicked. They had no idea how to file anything, and the person they hired messed up so badly that the IRS actually flagged some of their documents. My dad called me in a panic, and I let it ring. He texted me, "This is serious. We need your help." I replied, "I'm not available. Good luck." My sister texted me 2 hours later calling me selfish. Funny, considering that's what they accused me of on Thanksgiving. But the biggest blow came when my brother finally realized I wasn't going to fund his lifestyle anymore. He messaged me saying, "So you're just gonna let me fail?" I said, "That's not my responsibility." He replied with a paragraph of insults, calling me fake, heartless, acting like I thought I was better than everyone. I blocked him. My parents eventually showed up at my apartment building, knocking on my door like they suddenly cared. I didn't let them inside. I stood there in the hallway and said, "You kicked me out of your house. Now I'm returning the favor." My mom started crying. My dad said, "You're being unreasonable." I said, "For once in my life, I'm choosing me. If that's unreasonable to you, then maybe that's why we're here." They left angry. Months passed before we spoke again, and during those months, my life honestly got better. I focused on myself for the first time. No more emotional labor, no more guilt, no more being the responsible child who carried everyone on my back while receiving nothing in return. It felt like removing a weight I never realized was crushing me. Eventually, they reached out not to demand anything, but to actually talk. My mom apologized first, a real apology, not the passive-aggressive kind. She admitted they treated me unfairly. She admitted they expected too much of me. She admitted kicking me out on Thanksgiving was wrong. My dad apologized too, but I could tell it was harder for him. My brother didn't apologize, he never does, but I didn't care anymore. I wasn't waiting for his approval. Our relationship is different now, better in some ways, distant in others. I set firm boundaries, and for the first time, they respected them. I don't rush to fix everything. I don't give them money. I don't allow guilt to manipulate me, and they've slowly learned to deal with life without leaning on me like a crutch. Do I forgive them? Mostly. Do I forget? No. The image of them blocking the doorway on Thanksgiving will stay with me forever. But it also became the moment I realized I deserved better, from them, from myself, from life. So that's my story. If you've ever been the forgotten child, the responsible one, the one who holds everything together while receiving nothing back, I hope you hear this loud and clear. You're allowed to walk away. You're allowed to put yourself first. You're allowed to stop being the family fixer. And if people get angry, that just means they were using you. If you were on my side during this mess like this video, subscribe for more stories like this. And share your thoughts in the comments. What would you have done if your own parents told you, "You're not invited. Go home"? I'll see you all in the next story.